All right, welcome back, and welcome to the College Football Hour, as the big voice guy said. Prater in the ball game, Idaho Sports Talk. We're going to play Fair or Foul this hour, talking about behavior in Reno, Nevada. What you do, what you don't do. Going to be a fun one of Fair or Foul, Prater. And like I said, I didn't cross the line, but I went right up to that sucker. So that's going to be a great one today, Prater.
Looking forward to that.
Also give you a chance to win some tickets during Rock Jocks and Pop Culture, Boise State, Washington State for the Capital City Classic on Saturday. But first, Prater, let's hit our Fat Guys Fresh Deli hotline up. This interview is also on video. Our weekly catch-up with Idaho Vandal head football coach Jason Eck. Coach, welcome to Idaho Sports Talk, man. Congrats on the big win last week against Eastern.
It was a good win, and as someone who's tried to keep you from going over the line before, I understand that those struggles in Reno you've had.
my girlfriend, by the way, Prater, says Jason Eck reminds her of Tony Soprano. Do you see the resemblance at all? James Gandolfini?
I don't know who that is.
Okay.
Great actor. That's a great show. One of my favorites.
Love it,
You're
Coach.
a football coach. You're too busy to watch television.
Good
Coach,
point.
what the opportunity this squad has earned on Saturday? Haven't had an undefeated season in the Dome since '96. It's senior day. The playoffs are in reach. The Big Sky title is in reach. Dan Hawkins factors into this from a Boise standpoint. I think just a mega opportunity in front of this squad. A Saturday night, I'll throw that in as well. Holy smokes, man. You got everybody excited. What's the game plan?
We got to play well. Coach Hawkins is a good coach now. He's been at it for a long time. This is going to be my 10th game ever as a head coach. And heck, he's been a head coach probably for like 20 seasons or something. So he knows what he's doing. And, they're a team that's been in the playoffs. We're in the playoffs last year, and we're going to have to play our best football to get a win on Saturday.
You're a positive guy. I wanted to ask you this, Coach. And I've seen you in practice up close, and you'll get on a guy, but it doesn't feel like you'll embarrass them. And what are your philosophies psychologically on, different ways to do it? Some coaches want to yell, scream, a little colder, a little more prickly, and other coaches sometimes do it the way you do it. What's your philosophy? Why do you do what you do, Coach?
I think guys respond probably the best. The average, college football player, just the average person in general, responds really well when they're praised loudly and they're criticized quietly. And it's fun sometimes to have those guys that you can jump their butts all the time and they just respond no matter what you say. But there's a lot of guys when they make a mistake that if you jump on them as the coach, they go in the tank. They start feeling bad about themselves. And, I think there's a lot to a college football team of having guys who are having fun and guys who believe they can be successful and guys who are confident. And I think we've done a good job of that this year as a coaching staff. I think we have a confident football team that believes we can win.
Jason Eck, Idaho Vandals football coach, getting you ready for this weekend's game. A couple more games left before we dive into the postseason. Coach, as you know, you've won 6 of 7 games. And when you came on this show at the beginning of the season, you said 7 wins should get you into the playoffs. One, how much do you keep an eye on that? How much do you talk about the P word to your players? Because you got to focus on one game at a time. And how important is that next milestone for your program?
Well, we know 7 wins was big. 6 wins last week was nice just because of where we've been as a program with not a lot of winning seasons. But, we never talked about that really being a goal for our team to have a winning season. We talked about being a playoff football team. And I do think a win on Saturday would put us in the playoffs. But again, focusing on that doesn't accomplish much. We got to focus on having a great Wednesday practice in about an hour and, continuing just to improve as a football team, which I thought we made a positive step last week, improving off of our loss to Sac State. I thought we played, maybe our best game on offense, defense, special teams combined against Eastern.
What do you think about the playoff format? Do you like it at this level? And obviously you've coached and played at the FBS level. They're having big conversations about the playoffs. Is anything that the FCS does, could they do it at the FBS level?
You know what? I think it'd be tough to get up to 24 teams because, even in our playoff, I don't really know if there's 24 teams who have a shot to win it. There probably is, less than 12. The one year during COVID, they shrunk down the playoff bracket to 16 teams instead of the 24 that is in a usual year. And, I don't think any of those 8 teams who got eliminated off that were really, factors to go in. But I like the current format. It gives teams something to shoot for late in the year. It's really an advantage if you can be one of the top 8 teams and get a bye and become one of the 8 seeded teams. And, I think if we win out, we'll be in that discussion. We probably need some help nationally. Our good friend Ken Haslam, the AD at Montana, he's the one on the committee. So hopefully he reminds, Montana's got 3 losses in conference, but only one team beat them on the road when they had their starting quarterback. So hopefully he will remind the committee of that. But we got to take care of business this week against UC Davis because this is a quality football team.
Yeah, I'll go there. I mean, I'm scared of UC Davis, Coach. They lead this conference in passing yards, third in rushing yards. Defensively, they only surrender 20 points per game. Dan Hawkins has these guys playing, no question, their best football of the year. And, Hawk might be saying, hey, we win a couple of games here. We're in the playoffs, not these guys. They've won 4 straight games, and they've won 4 games in the Big Sky. You guys have won 5. I mean, how good is this Davis team? More importantly, how well are they playing right now?
The last month, they're playing as well as anybody. And especially when you look at the stats, for just the conference games. If you look at the 6 conference games, they dominate a lot of statistics in our conference. You look at their losses, they lose to Cal out of the Power 5. They lose on the road to South Dakota State by only 2 points, who's ranked number 1 in the country. They lost a real close game to Weber. And really the only team that beat them by more than possession in FCS was Montana State. So the last 4 weeks, they've been playing lights out. And I do agree. Their quarterback, Miles Hastings, I think is going to be the most accurate quarterback we've played. He's not a great athlete. He's not a big-time runner, but he's very accurate. Their running game reminds me a lot of what Sac State did, and we struggled to stop the run game against Sac State. So that's going to be, I think, a big challenge. Can we stop their run game and get them to third and long situations where then I think we have a pretty good pass rush team. And I think we're a pretty good team once we get teams in those obvious passing situations. But that's the if. We got to get into those situations.
Jason Eck, Idaho Vandals football. And Johnny mentioned earlier in this segment that it's senior night, your last home game in the regular season. I only count like 12 seniors, 12 graduates on your roster. It seems like your roster looking forward is in really, really good shape. How do you approach senior day, and how many of these seniors and graduates do you expect to come back for whatever reasons, a hardship, a COVID year, whatever? I mean, your roster's in good shape, dude. Yeah,
it's in pretty good shape. It's a special day for our seniors, and I think we have about 12 guys who can't come back. This is the end of the road, and for them, it's trying to build a legacy, and I think they've already started that by getting the little Brown Stein back in Moscow and clinching a winning record. But to go to the playoffs for them, I think would really be a great great accomplishment. So rooting for those guys, and then the way it is in COVID, I think we'll have some other guys who who have graduated who might want to move on. So we're kind of opening up our senior day. Some guys who've graduated who might have eligibility left. We'll probably have more than 12 guys walk out there for senior day, just because a lot of guys, once they get their degree, are ready to move on. I know Pat Tillman, that great player at Arizona State, who ended up passing away in the military. I think he told the coaches at Arizona State, "You can redshirt me or not, but I'm going to be moving on. I'm going to graduate. I have other things I want to accomplish in my life once I graduate." So I think we'll have a few guys in that boat as well. But big last time we're guaranteed to play in front of the Kibbie Dome, and we had a tremendous crowd last week. I thought it was going to be more like 14,000. I think they announced it 11,800, but some people might have snuck in or something because it was a great crowd.
Coach Eck, in terms of the winning, in terms of the crowds, in terms of competing for a playoff, all this is coming together in this season, and now you still have to go out and recruit. And the best recruiting is winning football games. So how are you taking advantage of winning right now? How is recruiting going? You can't obviously mention names, but in terms of signing, early signing days coming up in about a month, you got to capitalize on what you're doing right now. And I want to ask you the same question too about building for the future, building infrastructure, building facilities, building resources. How do you capitalize on a winning season to make this football team better 3 to 5 years from now?
Well, very happy about the recruiting our staff has done. We have 22 scholarship players committed that will sign with us next month, and then 7 walk-ons committed, because we want to have a great walk-on program where guys develop into we don't want Rudies. We don't want guys who are going to come in and play one play like that movie with Rudy. We want guys who develop into starters and things. Right now our starting right tackle is a walk-on who's earned a scholarship and is going to go on at the semester. So we are capitalizing definitely on the recruiting things, and we're kind of getting down where we just have a few spots left in this class. So we want to be really selective now here at the end. but we were able to get a lot of Northwest guys, which was one of our goals to do that. And, our administration's forward thinking. I met with our athletic director last week and our budget, financial assistant athletic director, and, talking about, what are the things we need to be a national championship program in FCS football. And I think they're committed to try to, capitalize. We have a lot of alums and a lot of boosters who I think are very excited about the direction this program is going. And I think hopefully we can capitalize on that excitement by kind of laying the foundation, not just for the next 3, 4, 5 years, but for the next 20 or 30 years by having some upgrades that we could do in the coming years.
What's number one on your priority list? What do you want from Santa Claus in December?
Facility wise, I think the three things we need to really have, some of the finest facilities in the country, redo our locker room to make that a little bit more opened up. I think, when you have a good locker room that's open and there's common areas like player lounge type things, it just adds to more your chemistry of the team because guys can relax in there. They can hang out and spend time. Our meeting rooms can be a little bit improved right now. We're a little bit of a hodgepodge where our meeting rooms are kind of scattered throughout the building in different areas. And, some of the rooms are a little tight for how many guys who are in their meeting rooms. And then probably the last piece would be, we have such a beautiful facility right now. It's cold as heck up here today. It's like 25 degrees. So it's great to practice inside the dome. But, we have an indoor track underneath there. So like in January, February, and March, our track team is going to have that dome and the turf is rolled up. So getting a surface area where we can, have the guys throwing 7-on-7 and working drills and working football fundamentals, even in the winter, I think could really help our development in the off season, especially like for our passing game, Giovanni McCoy throwing, all winter to Hayden Hatton and Jermaine Jackson. So those are probably the three biggest, priorities that I've expressed to our administration. I think they're working on trying to solve all those things and improve all those things for us.
Jason Eck, Idaho Vandal head football coach. Some dude added you on Twitter last week complaining about the beer lines being too long in the Kibbie Dome. And he said something like, Jason Eck, you better fix this immediately. And I responded to the guy, Prater, basically, no, stop this. Let him focus on football. Coach, you responded to this dude. You don't have to keep doing that. I'm going to fight those battles for you, Coach.
Well, I appreciate it, but I want to make sure when we get the people here, and I think we probably have gotten some people here to the Dome that haven't been there in a while. I want to make sure they have a great experience. And, to me, it's good problems to have, because it's stuff that we were not quite ready for to have, crowds that are, in the tens of thousands. And it's a good problem. So we got to keep working through it. And, last year when it was 4,000 people in there, they didn't have those issues. So these are good problems to have. I know our administration is, playoffs and FCS are not always a money-making, deal because you're feeding your team longer, you're traveling longer. The NCAA gets a lot of the money from your gate from the playoffs. But again, it's a good problem to enter into that territory and put together a plan because it hasn't been an issue in Idaho for a while. So there's I think it was some great rapper once said, "More money, more problems." But we're getting a few more problems, but we'll work through those. And again, I want to do everything I can to help and make sure our fans are having a great experience in the Kibbie Dome and they're loud as heck when they're there when the other team has the ball.
Coach Eck, I'm not going to lie because we never lie around here, but you're my second favorite Idaho Vandals football coach, and you got a long ways to go to catch number one, who I believe you hung out with a little bit last week. One of my all-time favorite coaches is John L. Smith, and he's now in the Vandals Hall of Fame, and half our audience just hung up because they can't stand the guy, and the other half really love and respect this guy. I think he's a beautiful human being. I think he was a beautiful football coach, and you had a chance to hang out with him last week. Tell me a John L. Smith story from last week because I miss seeing his face. He looked good last week.
He looked great. It was a thrill to meet him, and he was really the last coach from that good run Idaho had in the 80s and 90s that I had gotten to meet. I worked for Coach Erickson, and then Keith Gilbertson had been back here. Chris Tormey had been back, but John L. was the last guy I got a chance to visit with. And, he just talked about how much fun, he had coaching at Idaho and how, even though he went on to coach at Louisville and Michigan State, he said, I don't know if I ever enjoyed myself more than the group of coaches I worked with here and the players I had at Idaho. And I'm kind of feeling the same way because I'm having a blast being the head coach here. But, really what he created here, he was here 6 seasons. They went to the playoffs 5 of those years, won 2 conference titles. Again, I'm trying to emulate the success he had here. And, he kind of laid a blueprint of how to do it. So it was, for me, it was a thrill to get a chance to visit with him some last week when he was up here.
Again, playing one of the most important FCS games this weekend, Saturday, 5 p.m. Mountain Time on ESPN Plus. Senior day at the Kibbie Dome, Idaho hosting UC Davis. Big game. Let's go get them, Coach. Can't wait to talk already next week and keep this thing going. Best of luck. Appreciate your time as always, Coach.
Appreciate it, Prater. Appreciate it. Ball game. V's up.
Heck yeah, Coach Jason Eck, and big one in the Dome on Saturday night, Prater. I love it. JP's going to have some news coming up, but first, fair or foul? The premise, when in Reno, fair or foul behavior. This is going to be a good one on Prater in the ball game. KTIK, the ticket.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studios, this is Ticket Traffic.